Greetings from Bismarck, North Dakota. We're going to visit Fort Mandan, where the Lewis and Clark expedition spent the coldest winter of their lives. We'll stop by Lake Sakakawea, the Knife River villages. We'll take a riverboat cruise. We'll visit the North Dakota Heritage Museum, Fort Abraham Lincoln, and we'll find out Bismarck is actually a pretty fun town. I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah. Here we are, Bismarck, at the KOA. And sorry about the side view, but this was the only camera still recording when we arrived. The only thing we're doing today is we're gonna stop by Stone Home Brewing and have some dinner, and tomorrow we'll begin exploring.
Yep, looks good.
It's a brand new day. Well, last night was a positive introduction to Bismarck, at least for us. At least from the standpoint of going out like a Bismarcker. It is a city I visited back in 2020, and at the time I didn't do much except visiting some of the historical sites, but it was during that visit that I got this crazy idea to do the whole Lewis and Clark trail. Speaking of Lewis and Clark, it would have been October 1804. After the Teton Sioux incident, things got better. They were sailing along this beautiful prairie as far as the eye could see. The weather was starting to cool down, which meant no mosquitoes. They had encountered many plants and animals, as they would put it, new to science, like the prairie dogs and pronghorns. And then they arrived here, our first point of interest today, and perhaps the most important site in the whole expedition. Here they spent the winter of 1804 to 1805. So let's visit Fort Mandan.
Well, if you watched my 2020 North Dakota video, you might remember that I came here back in 2020. And it was probably this place where I got the idea to someday do the entire Lewis and Clark trail. And now we're back. We've made it back to this place. Let's check out the visitor center, because I believe this is where I bought my Lewis and Clark t-shirt. So maybe they still have them. And then we'll go to Fort Mandan.
Fort Mandan is a short drive away, but you have to buy the tickets here. As far as interpretive centers go, this one is also one of the better ones. Instruments, different field remedies. But this one, of course, focuses more on the 156 days they spent among the Mandan. Actually, if it wasn't for their friendly relationship with the locals, they would have most likely perished. They would have died of hunger or the extreme cold. They brought all kinds of gifts for trade and to establish good relationships. As soon as it warmed up the following spring, they sent the Keelboat back to St. Louis with all the specimens they had collected, like this cute prairie dog. Since they sent the Keelboat back, they dug out several canoes to continue the journey. Here's a sculpture depicting Lewis and Clark with the Mandan chief Sheheki. Let's drive down to the actual fort, which is, of course, a reconstruction. When I came in 2020, this interpretive center was open, and the fort was also open for self-guided tours, but not anymore. Here's a huge statue of Seaman Meriwether Lewis's Newfoundland, another important member of the expedition. And the Missouri River, one more time. And spoiler alert, we'll see it again. There's a trail that goes along the bank of the river, but our guided tour is about to start, so we have to go back. As I was saying, as of the time of our visit here in June 2022, the visitor center is closed because of staffing shortages, and you have to do a guided tour, which is better in a sense because you get more information But you have to be here at a certain time and you have less freedom to roam around the fort. For my filming purposes, I prefer self-guided because I have more time to get the shots that I want, but it is what it is. Here we have some quarters. That's quite a bit of kindling. Here's Cruzat's fiddle and a game of backgammon, and some of the items illustrating how life must have been at the fort during the crude North Dakota winter in which the men survived mostly on Mandan cornmeal. This must have been Clark's desk. And of course, these are the captain's quarters. And here Lewis's desk. This would be the room Charbonneau, Sacagawea, and their newborn Jean-Baptiste occupied. This was a room for the officers who were on guard. It was so cold outside that they would take turns and defrost in here. These canisters, that's where they stored the gunpowder and the tools they used to make bullets. And the big gun they had on the roof. And here's the blacksmith's shop, very important during this time as they traded his services for cornmeal. The Mandan were particularly interested in this battle axe design, a trade deal that probably saved the expedition from starvation.
A 15-stripe, 15-star flag at the time. Very cool.
To this day, the exact original location of Fort Mandan is unknown, but it is most likely on private land just about 9 miles west of here. I mean, for all we know, nowadays it is underwater. And that is the reason we are taking this dirt road. There's an overlook from where you can see the original fort's approximate location. Check out that power plant. I believe that would be Leland Old's station. When it went online in 1966, it was the largest lignite-based power plant in the Western Hemisphere. Lignite is also known as brown coal. And here we are, about 2 miles north of what is thought to be the original location of the fort.
Apparently this is a little closer to the actual location of Fort Mandan, which, I mean, is no longer there. But this is the marker here that says that Meriwether Lewis was probably the first Mason to tread upon what is now North Dakota. So, yeah, apparently somewhere 2 miles down there, apparently the river has shifted its path over the years. So it's probably underwater by now, the original path, the original site of Fort Mandan. And what we saw is a reconstruction at a nearby site, not at the exact. Here we have another historical plaque.
And there's Coal Creek, another lignite plant. It is the largest power plant in North Dakota. Some of the waste heat is actually used to produce ethanol. And that's it for these remote dirt roads. Let's go find something to eat. On the left we have Lake Sakakawea. On the right, Lake Audubon. And up until now we've seen at least 2 spellings and pronunciations for the name of the Shoshone young woman who accompanied the expedition all the way to the Pacific. So I asked the guide at Fort Mandan, and apparently the most accurate pronunciation would be Sacagawea, since the G sound in Sacagawea does not exist in the Shoshone language. The North Dakota variation with the K is probably wrong as well, since that sound doesn't exist either. So Sacagawea it is from now on, at least until we get to Montana. We're gonna eat here at the Totem Trail Bar and Grill. Today they have the buffalo chicken sandwich on special. I believe I stopped here back in 2020 to buy water or to go to the bathroom or something like that, and I remembered I thought it would be a cool restaurant to visit. And it was pretty good. Let's put gas and start heading back. When I was here in 2020, I also visited Lake Sakakawea, and I recall flying the drone and seeing these beautiful bluffs, and I remember wondering how it would be, the views from that vantage point. And now, a year and 10 months later, here we are. This is the Lake Sakakawea Overlook, located near a town called Riverdale. And I think it looked better from the air. It is so much windier and hazier today. Let's go down to Garrison Dam, which is the one that impounds Lake Sakakawea, which is, of course, a man-made reservoir.
It's so windy out here, but yeah, this is Lake Sakakawea, the third largest man-made lake in the United States. Garrison Dam here makes it. And I was here back in 2020. And I was able to fly the drone. It wasn't nearly as windy as it is today. Maybe I'll edit in some of that footage here.
That's where we were just a few minutes ago. Let's take a look at the hydroelectric powerhouse, which went into production in 1956. I'm not going to pretend to know exactly how everything works, but apparently each one of those surge tanks can hold 3.4 million gallons of water, and the water level in each one of them is approximately the same elevation as the lake. Many remnants remain in this area of the earth-lodge villages of the Mandan, the Hidatsa, the Arikara. Let's see if we can visit a couple of those. This particular location is kind of hard to find, but I think this is the trailhead. This is the Two Rivers trailhead, so I don't think this is it. Now we're going to the right place. It is supposed to be the site of a Hidatsa village, although I believe nowadays all that remains are the scars, the indentations on the ground.
It is supposed to be behind that tree line. It's about a quarter mile. I think it is a little more than a quarter mile. And that was supposed to be the largest Hidatsa village of all of them. Thousands of people.
Here we are. And there it is, the lone interpretive sign.
And this is it. Is it everything you expected it to be? Yeah. All these lower areas on the ground is where the earth lodges would have been. And they would have looked sort of like this. Oh, that's clearly visible there, and another one and another one. This must have been a big one because it is pretty deep. Probably the communal one, you know.
I know, a little anticlimactic perhaps. How about we see a reconstruction to see what they really looked like?
Alright, let's go back.
Where we're going next? I actually visited back in 2020, but we are so close, might as well make a quick stop once again. And this is the Knife River Village's National Historic Site. There's a trail that goes to what remains of two nearby Earth Lodge villages, but they are exactly the same as what we just saw, so let's just see the reconstruction.
Well, here we have an Earth Lodge reconstruction. As it would have looked, one of these would have been in one of those, you know, it's not a hole on the ground, what would you call that? An indentation on the ground, can't find the word, but you know, one of these would have been each one of those, so it's pretty cool. It's that buffalo skin I see. Yep.
You notice something remarkable as you step in. It is significantly cooler in here. Apparently, these were so well insulated that they were cool in the summer and not so cold in the crude North Dakota winter. The hole on the ground is called a cache pit, used to store dried vegetables.
I guess the vegetable garden hasn't quite grown yet, but it's getting there. Depressions, that's the word I was looking for. Depressions on the ground, that's what we saw, and each one would have had one of those earth lodges.
Let's go back to Bismarck. There's supposed to be a riverboat cruise and we want to find out all about it. And there's their old lignite power plant once again.
We're gonna save this one for tomorrow. Yeah, we decided to save the riverboat for tomorrow, the Lewis and Clark riverboat no less, but check it out, this is called Keelboat Park, and they have another replica of the Lewis and Clark Keelboat. Let me tell you, it's all about Lewis and Clark in this part of the country. It does feel wider than the one we saw earlier. Yeah, it's locked. It's a fake door, actually. Yeah, this one definitely feels wider than the one we saw back there at that other visitor center. So I don't know. I don't know which one is accurate. Here they have this other sculpture. Go Northwest Coast. Interesting. Oh, there it is.
Well, tomorrow will be another day. Actually, it is June 18th, so the days are long, and we decided to end the day at this funny-looking restaurant called Space Aliens. They have an extensive menu and they give you free popcorn. And of course, they have IPAs. What we ordered ended up not being all that great, but the ambience definitely made up for it.
I don't know if you remember my old website, but it didn't look like this. It was actually horrible. It was very slow, it didn't work well on mobile, it wasn't secure. It was something I made myself when I started, and as much as I like the idea of being a jack of all trades, sometimes I had to accept the fact that I'm not good at everything. And many times, when you want something done right, you have to call the experts. And that's when Raptor Media came to the rescue and developed this stunningly beautiful website for me. And they can do the same for you. I mean, look at this. Beautiful pictures, a well-designed menu, all the information at your fingertips, and it scales beautifully. A modern website has to deal with all kinds of different screen sizes and resolutions, and check out how it goes from full native 4K Ultra HD to mobile. And it does it so gracefully. I just love it. Your website is your only chance to make a first impression, so it has to look great and be a good experience. It has to load quickly and be easy to navigate. But you know what's also important? What's under the hood. Like, it's gotta rank well in search engines. You want to be one of the top results, otherwise you don't really exist. And then there's content creation, image sourcing, hosting, SSL certificates, DNS management. I almost get a headache thinking about it, and with Raptor Media you don't have to focus on any of those details because they cover all that. So you can focus on what you do. Your business. Raptor Media has a special promotion only to my viewers. They are offering RV campground websites at these super low prices. So go to my website, travelingrobert.com, to learn about this insane deal. Only for the first 15 clients who sign up between today and Cyber Monday. $299 for the initial design setup, and then it is only $89 monthly for premium hosting with proactive support for a website that looks like this. Also, the first 15 new clients will get my CD and my sticker, and to help you get started with your new design, Raptor Media is including 250 custom designed flyers, 250 business cards, and 3 months of managed hosting. The folks at Raptor Media, they also specialize in creating websites for all kinds of industries: plumbing, heating and cooling, medical, restaurants, with online ordering, and a lot more. Each website is built from scratch and delivered quickly. So check out the website for more details, and of course there will be a link in the video description, and I want to thank them for sponsoring this episode.
Well, hello, good morning, and it is Sunday. Everybody seems to be like they're gonna depart. A lot of people are leaving the campground, and it's gonna be 100 degrees today, so we may not do a whole lot of like outdoor activities. We're gonna go see a Mandan village now, and that may be the extent of our outdoor activities today, except for a boat cruise at sunset. It's the Lewis and Clark river cruise, so you had to do it, right? And then during the middle of the day, we might take a nap, we might go to a museum, we'll see. And then tomorrow is going to be a work day, and then, well, the road beckons, we continue. But right now, let's go see a Mandan village. Where we're going right now, I also visited back in 2020. And you see, that's kind of the theme here in Bismarck, which is, by the way, 2 cities in one. Bismarck on the east side of the Missouri, Mandan on the west side. Right now, we're going to the Mandan side. Even though I've been here before, the experience is always different. We may go in more depth at certain locations this time around, and let's face it, back in 2020, some things were closed, and I did try to avoid indoor activities. Our first point of interest is Fort Abraham Lincoln State Park. Let's go down to the campground first, to reminisce on my previous time here. I remember I requested a primitive site because they were right next to the river, and it turned out to be a sweltering hot day in the high 90s. Serves me well for not checking the weather in advance. And that was Minitini too, which was great, but I couldn't run the air conditioner on batteries. Yeah, I stayed at one of these sites here on the right. Let's stop by the Visitor Center.
Oh, the Civilian Conservation Corps.
Here we have another Earth Lodge village. And here we also have some Lewis and Clark exhibits, but it is not only about them. There's a lot of history here from before and after their historic visit to this area. The Mandan in particular were great botanists and farmers. The village we're about to visit next was the southernmost of the Mandan villages, and it is called Onesland Village. It was settled around 1575 by families from 3 nearby villages. It was a planned community. This was also, of course, the site of Fort Abraham Lincoln, which gives the state park its name, but more about that later. Let's visit the village first. What we're going to see is a partial reconstruction of what would have been Miti Opai Resh, Mandan for Onesland Village. And it was named that way because it was built on a sloping plain towards the river. It contained about 85 earth lodges with a population of 1,500. By the time Lewis and Clark passed through here though, the village had already been abandoned. There was a deadly smallpox epidemic in 1781 which almost eliminated all the Mandan from this region. The survivors joined the Hidatsa farther north. Today, all we have are these 6 reconstructed lodges. Very similar to the one we saw yesterday at the Knife River villages, but instead of furniture, they just have these interpretive signs and this representation of the cash pit, the hole on the ground where they would store dried veggies. And here we have some fish traps. This would have been the shrine, which represented the Lone Man, one of the main figures in Mandan religion.
So yeah, the larger lodge would have been the ceremonial lodge, and that would be the Mandan shrine over there. So yeah, this was it was definitely worth coming back, and by the way, it's noticeably cooler inside the lodges. I guess all that earth, insulates it from the. I bet you it's warm in winter and cool in summer.
It is a very pleasant walk on this elevated boardwalk/bridge. Let's go up to the infantry post, but first, cool view of the village from this vantage point. You can really see this land. And there we can see the state capital, also known as the skyscraper of the prairie. The infantry post was established in 1872, nearly 100 years after the Mandan had abandoned the Onesland village. It was built in preparation for the Northern Pacific Railroad to lay its track to the west of the Missouri River Basin. From the top of the bluff, we get commanding views of the surrounding area. All the buildings were eventually dismantled, and all that remains are the foundations and 3 block houses that were rebuilt in 1935. This foundation here would have been the officers' quarters. Maybe we can climb to the top of that blockhouse. This is so quintessentially North Dakota, right? At least in my mind. And I imagine the views will be even better from the top of the blockhouse.
Woo! Woo! Hello!
Yeah, sometimes I'm afraid there might be an animal lurking somewhere.
I guess we have to go all the way up there. Yep. It's kind of dangerous. Let's go. Let's step outside. Oh wow.
Later today, we're going to be cruising down that river. This part of North Dakota, not as flat as we were led to believe, huh?
Well, here we are. We made it to the top of this sentry building here. And we have, shall I say, a commanding view. That will be Mandan on the left and Bismarck on the right, and the Missouri River, the mighty Missouri, in the middle. I'm really starting to like North Dakota. It would have been the hospital.
Down there we can see the cavalry post and the commanding officer's quarters, General George and Libby Custer's home, and the Missouri River meandering downstream. Let's head down there. General Custer, of course, best known for the Battle of Little Big Horn, also known as Custer's Last Stand, where he was defeated, more like obliterated, by the Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes, the biggest battle of the Great Sioux War of 1876. The only way to see Custer's house is by taking a guided tour, so we're going to save that for another time. We're hungry, so let's go have lunch. There we can see the North Dakota Veterans Cemetery. Came to Mandan, to the post office, and now we're going to eat. We're going to have lunch at Sicky's Garage in Bismarck, which we later found out is a chain, but it's got good reviews and it is supposed to have really good burgers. I like the garage motif decor.
Oh yeah.
Next, we're going to visit something I decided to skip back in 2020, and that is the North Dakota Heritage Center and State Museum, which is kind of part of the Capitol grounds. Beautiful and very modern building. Here we have some petrified wood and some cannonball concretions that you can actually find at Theodore Roosevelt National Park. It is a vast museum and very well made. One of those you wish you had the whole day to explore every nook and cranny. It opened in 2014 to celebrate North Dakota's 125th anniversary of statehood. There are 4 main galleries retelling the story of the state. So let's dive in. Of course, it is always a good idea to begin at the beginning, with dinosaurs. Apparently, after the dinosaurs became extinct 60 million years ago, North Dakota looked like the Everglades in Florida. They even had gators. Who would have thought? The predecessor to modern-day bison.
Yay, white pelican. Fly pelican.
They have a wall with all the Native American tribes from North Dakota. The timeline of events. Here we have a teepee. used by nomadic tribes because of its portability as opposed to the more permanent earth lodges. Here's a model of a hunting camp, and they're using teepees. Another larger, perhaps more modern type of teepee here. I know we've seen plenty of this already, but it is a nice panoramic illustration, so I figure, why not? This would be a bull boat used by the Mandan for traveling and fishing. And here we have some bison. Here's the Lewis and Clark section and how their arrival changed the West forever. Vintage automobiles. Now this I like. This is a 1900 Holland Special built in North Dakota by Norwegian immigrant Samuel Holland. One thing for sure, the museum encompasses all time periods and all kinds of North Dakota innovations and inventions, contributions to the culture, the arts, the sciences. Of course, it being North Dakota, I would imagine many of the innovation would be in mining and agriculture, but many other fields as well. Oh, missile launch equipment from the Cold War. Fascinating. Fascinating to see. Naturally, after the missile launch equipment, we get to a fallout shelter. Exiting through the Northern Lights atrium.
Well, what can I say? That was an overwhelming museum, very complete. I mean, you could spend easily a whole day there. Very nice, very well made, very well presented. The numbers were a little confusing sometimes, finding the number. I would rather have like a sign saying what you're looking at instead of a number and then you have to look for it. I know, I'm being picky. Let's look for the Sacagawea or Sacagawea statue, and then we're gonna take a break because we have a boat cruise this afternoon. Well, here it is, the famous Sacagawea statue, right here in front of the North Dakota State Capitol. Right there. I believe they used the image of from Sakakawea's great-great-granddaughter. Yeah.
Sacagawea was to become, and I quote, beyond question, the most illustrious feminine representative of the Indian race. And that is a direct quote from the plaque at her memorial, which we saw in the previous episode. And we'll definitely learn more about her story and her legacy in future episodes.
The Capitol building, I'm sure it has its architectural merits, but not very visible to the naked eye. All right, we're gonna take a break, and then we have the boat tour, as I said. The Capitol building is closed today, Sunday, but who knows, maybe tomorrow, Monday, will come.
Very lively on the Missouri River today, and I see what looks like a riverboat coming.
Well, here we are once again at Keelboat Park. on the shore of the Missouri River. And no, today for real, we're gonna take a riverboat, and the riverboat is coming.
Of course, this is another one of those where the side paddle is just for looks. Most of these touristy ones are. There's the replica of the Keelboat, and that's what I call an expedition vehicle. Oh, to roam the earth on that thing. Almost ready to board. I just thought about something. This may be the last time we see the Keelboat because it really didn't go any further upstream. In the spring of 1805, it returned to St. Louis with what the expedition had collected so far.
Well, cheers. From now on, I'm drinking Bud Light.
That beach would be part of Steamboat Park. By the way, there seems to be some kind of narration at the boat, probably about the history of all the different places we're about to see, but at least from the upper deck here, it is completely inaudible. So we'll just enjoy the pretty sights and relax. I believe that would be Memorial Bridge Park, and the sculpture looks like it could be a sextant, one of the instruments used during the expedition to determine the geographical coordinates, but it's really all a guessing game on my part since we can't hear the guide. One thing's for sure, Bismarckers sure know how to enjoy their river. It would be interesting to come in winter, when it is frozen solid. Now we are in this area of beautiful mansions, which kind of reminds me of a similar tour we took in Naples, Florida earlier this year. The only difference is that all the houses in Florida had all the drapes open, as if they wanted for you to see inside. I guess North Dakotans are a little more private? Perhaps not all of them. They keep getting better and better. Check it out, that's the blockhouse where we were this morning at Fort Lincoln. People definitely having fun. When I stayed at the campground back in 2020, I remember seeing that sandbar and all the boats going back and forth. And the Capitol building, which is the tallest building in North Dakota, by the way, I had forgotten to mention that. There it is, that's the campground, and the slanted village. That's gotta be fun, riding on one of those fast pontoons. And this is where we turn around. Wanna buy a house here? There's the sign. Look at that cloud. We do have bad weather coming later. Oh, they're getting closer, and quickly. I have no idea what that building is, but it seems fairly new. There seems to be a photo shoot. Anything to get that perfect sunset shot over the Missouri. I think by now we have debunked that myth that North Dakota is nothing but flatlands and cornfields. And I don't have to tell you that we've enjoyed the capital Bismarck tremendously, and I think we've barely scratched the surface. That goes to show that you can find wonderful things in the least expected places, even in the least visited state. We ought to change that. As Mark Twain once said, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. Let me tell you, good old Samuel Clemens was a timeless man. So I would encourage you to travel as much as possible and see things with your own eyes. On the next episode, we're going to take a break from the Lewis and Clark Trail and make a detour to visit the North Dakota Badlands. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and see you on the road. I'm riding in my